We do this again.
चलो हाँ.
Sound rolling.
We as obstetricians had always thought that iron, folic acid, and calcium is the most important component, especially for a pregnant woman. But now I feel that Indian women are micronutrient deficient, and just giving them IFC is not enough. And these nutrient deficiencies impact pregnancy in a different way. They can alter short term and long term health and development. Well, if we go back, maybe they were not so deficient, but now with urbanization, we find that the woman is also working, her husband is also working, and then they sort of base their lives on food which is available outside. That gives them probably a lot of carbohydrate but very little micronutrients, and that is why most of our urban pregnant women are micronutrient deficient. Well, apart from the normal deficiency of iron and calcium, because we are dark skinned people and our ethnicity doesn't allow a lot of vitamin D into our bodies, and hence calcium deficiency is very common. But the micronutrients, if you ask me, then all oil soluble vitamins like A and D is very deficient. Zinc, magnesium, our other two deficiencies, even selenium to some extent is deficient in our women. I think we need a lot of micronutrients, maybe 12 to 15 micronutrients are important, but the most important according to me is a little vitamin D, little vitamin A, zinc, magnesium, selenium, and vitamin B12. That is very important. Folic acid in any case is a very important component which has been always at the forefront for supplementing women, especially in the first trimester. We in India follow WHO guidelines a lot, and WHO had once formulated that we need folic acid, iron, and calcium as essential food supplements for all pregnant women across the country, especially the rural population where these could go very deficient. So we follow WHO guidelines, and their guideline also states that micronutrients are equally important. Vitamin A, all the components of B complex, which includes folic acid, pyricontin, vitamin B12, vitamin D, vitamin E, copper, iodine, selenium, zinc. It is all recommended not only by WHO but also ICMR. And if they get only iron, folic acid, and calcium, then normal development happens, but the cognitive function may lag behind for such children. Well, iodine is the most important micronutrient which helps making thyroxine, which is the output of the thyroid gland. And this is so important for the development of the baby, especially the mental development. So I think iodine is one of the most important micronutrients, especially in the first trimester, even later. Magnesium, we use it for treatment if there are too many leg cramps, or if there's something like eclampsia or pre-eclampsia, we give magnesium sulfate to treat it. So you know how important magnesium is, and I think that enough magnesium in the body could prevent all these conditions, especially if the patient is hypertensive. Importance of zinc is being recognized in medical practice over the last few years, especially in the pediatric practice. And now we also know that it is an important component for protein synthesis, nucleic acid metabolism, and also in wound healing, neurological and immune function. Besides, deficiency of zinc in pregnancy has been associated with impaired immunity, prolonged labor, sometimes preterm birth, and also intrauterine growth restriction. It is a very important micronutrient, and even low birth weight could be associated with deficiency of this micronutrient. Well, omega-3 fatty acids are really very critical in building blocks of fetal brain and retina. So, consumption of this specific group of fatty acid during pregnancy, either in diet or by supplements, is associated with improved neurological development outcomes in the child. They also play a vital role in determining the length of gestation and in preventing perinatal depressions. Vitamin D is a oil soluble vitamin, and it is so essential in pregnancy or otherwise in all of us, because this is the vitamin which helps movement of calcium from the blood to bones. And while the baby's bone system or skeletal system is forming, we need a lot of vitamin D there so that the blood can sort of utilize all the calcium towards the bone formation. Not only the mothers restore her calcium, and also the babies. ICMR recommends 400 international units of vitamin D per day. So it is very important to remember that just small amounts of vitamin D are essential for women who don't show a lot of deficiency. However, if there is a lot of deficiency, then just to overcome the deficiency, what we need is 6 lakh units in whichever period time we give it. So 60,000, not on a daily basis. It's best to give it on a bi-weekly or weekly basis depending on the baseline levels. But once we've supplemented 6 lakhs, we have to stop vitamin D supplementation. And after that, what should remain as daily supplementation is just about 6,000 IU. Is not dangerous if the woman is deficient in vitamin D, but it won't supplement so fast. So it's best to give 60,000 together rather than 1,000 IU every day. But then 1,000 IU throughout the pregnancy could lead to a dose which is higher than 6 lakhs. And we all understand that vitamin D can lead to toxicities, especially in the development of the skeletal system of the baby. So giving 1,000 IU could be too much for a woman who doesn't show deficiency but just needs a daily requirement. Vitamin B12 is another important vitamin, known also a micronutrient, which is very essential for formation of red blood cells. Especially if vitamin B12 is deficient, what happens? These are large blood cells which form. Once upon a time, we used to just do a peripheral smear and detect a vitamin B12 deficiency. Nowadays, we have more modern tests. We can do vitamin B levels, B12 levels, and detect deficiencies and supplement. According to ICMR guidelines, the requirement of folic acid is just 0.5 milligram, yet it is traditional to use 5 milligrams of folic acid for a pregnant woman, because it is the sole vitamin on which cell division and organogenesis is dependent. And if this goes deficient at the time of any important organ being formed, that organ doesn't form normally. May it be heart, brain, lungs, stomach, or kidney system. And hence we do not want to take any chances. Plus, folic acid is a water soluble vitamin. The rest of it is secreted out, excreted out, and hence it is very safe to use 5 milligrams. At least we do not recommend a low dose for these women. However, their absorption could be hampered and they might require so much to get that 0.5 milligram into them. Folic acid can be given as folic acid, and you've just heard that 5 milligram is the dose, but then folic acid is immediately converted into L-methylfolate, which is its active metabolite, and hence if it is given as L-methylfolate only, even a lower dose would suffice. Another small thing about folic acid is that tetramethylfolate is the metabolite in which folic acid converts into our body. And that is the active form of folic acid, and hence if we use tetramethylfolate directly, then the conversion of folic acid to the active form is not required, and therefore we have enough of the metabolite of folic acid which is essential for the fetus to utilize in its organogenesis. If a pregnant woman has entered pregnancy anemic, then she would require a lot more iron than what a woman who is normal enters pregnancy. But why do you think iron is so important? It is because the baby starts taking away the iron stores of the mother and would deplete the mother of all her stores if she doesn't take a supplement. Now, here is a very important tip that all the iron which we give orally is not absorbed. Just about 10% of the whole iron is absorbed, and what we need every day is just 12 to 15 milligram of iron. Now, if we give a very high dose, what happens? We get only 12 to 15 milligrams of iron, but the rest irritates the GI system. And therefore, iron becomes most difficult to tolerate in pregnancy, because in any case, her GI system has gone for a toss with all the hyperacidity she has. And then with iron sort of remaining in her body for a long time would lead to more gastritis, acidity, intestinal cramps. And hence it would be very advisable to give iron which moves slowly through the gut, is gentle and kind, and released slowly so that continuously absorption happens. Iron is absorbed in its ferric state, which is a reduced state, and therefore vitamin C becomes a very important component to make the sort of media acidic, the pH acidic, and iron is absorbed better. Another important thing which vitamin C does is binds the heme and the globin molecule together. And hence we normally say that to make a hemoglobin, we just don't need iron and protein, but we need vitamin C also. As per ICMR guidelines, a pregnant woman must consume about 1000 milligrams of calcium a day, 1000 to 1200. But then our food is also rich in calcium, so we don't need all from a supplement. Half of it can come from our food, and the remaining half, which is about 500 milligram, can come as a supplement to us. Patient compliance is very poor with multiple pills. If we give them just one medicine, the compliance is 100%. The moment we start prescribing them more than one medication, the compliance goes down. And that is why on my prescription, I tend to write the first medicine as the most important, and always tell them that forget all the rest, but don't forget the first one. I think less number of medicines are more desirable in a pregnant woman, because in any case she has a lot of aversion to food, to medicines, to smells. When Trimacare was introduced to me, I found it interesting. I went through the product. The first thing which was good about it was each trimester had specifications which were trimester specific. The first trimester, the best thing was that it had tetramethylfolate instead of folic acid, and it also had a small amount of antiemetic, which is so essential for the first trimester women, because most women experience a lot of nausea and vomiting. Then the second trimester, the best thing was that iron and calcium were separate, and very nicely indicated that iron should be taken when the stomach is slightly empty, say before lunch. Plus it also had omega-3 fatty acids, and that also the source was algae. So vegetarians have an advantage over here, because most of the omega-3 fatty acids are derived from the deep sea small fish, which the vegetarians may not be able to take. Trimacare has another feature which I found was slow release iron, and hence I feel that patients may not suffer from gastric symptoms which they normally have on taking iron, and we have to go on changing from one product to the other. Third trimester had another interesting feature apart from iron, calcium and all the micronutrients which all the Trimacare had, was a bowel regulator, so that constipation does not really bother them, and very few women may have to take something for constipation. Trimacare 3, in addition, I found has magnesium, which is quite helpful for women who have cramps, and hence giving it to all women might help to reduce their incidence of cramps, and also in hypertensive women the incidence of eclampsia and preeclampsia. So I thought that this was quite good for the Indian woman, as well as a very good supplement of micronutrients in all ways to cover a lot of problems which arise during pregnancy.
Choose trimester-wise care. Choose the right nutrition for Indian pregnant mothers. Choose Trimacare.